Hello everyone, this is Cindy again with Monday Musings. Today I'm going to work with some alcohol inks, and what you see right here is the Tim Holtz palette, and what I've done is I have filled it up with alcohol inks and allowed it to dry before closing it. And I wrote down kind of a table, like, so that I would know what colors are where, and I'm just kind of keeping this in here with it so that I can look and know which colors to pick. Actually, it should go like this. And what I did was put this side on the top, and then I separated a line and put this side. So we're going to use that. I'm going to be using a mini mister with blending solution in it, using blending solution, using some glossy accents, and I'm using this Retro Circles stamp by Tim Holtz. It's this one. And using some water brushes. These are the type where you unscrew off the top. Yeah. Okay, let's do this one. And fill it with water, and then you can use them for watercolors or acrylics or just about anything you want. But in this case, I am not using water, I'm using blending solution. So I would fill this with blending solution. Then also want to be careful that when you're finished, you want to clean out the blending solution. You do not want to leave it in your brush, because it doesn't treat your brushes very nicely if you leave it. Also, another way to do this is to just squirt some blending solution into a tiny little container, and that's the way I'm doing it today, because I found that when I put it in here, if I squeeze, I get too much blending solution, and my alcohol ink gets just a little bit too fluid. So I'm finding that when I do this technique, that it's easier to just dip my brush and blot it and then use it. And also, you know, sometimes I'll put some out on my craft sheet and use it that way. I've got some blue shop towels so I can wipe the color and the solution off of my brushes. I want to make sure my brush is clean. Okay. And then I'm using the memory glass and the frames. So these are the frames. This is 1 by 3, and the glass comes in this package, and there's 24 of these glass slides in this package, and it's really very inexpensive. So I think that you could have some fun with these. Now these you know, are only 3 in a package, so it's a little more of an expense when you want to put a frame around them. But if you want to decorate these glass slides and put some tape around them, metal tape or something like that, that's a little less expensive. Or maybe you just want to glue it onto a larger project. So anyway, I'm using a slide. And here's a project that I made yesterday, and I'll go through that technique with you today. And you know, I made it into a pendant, but you could put a shorter chain and hang it from a mini album or in your journal, or just glue it without the chain in your journal. I've also got, see, I made this one with the eyes, and I put like a leather tie on it for a pendant. This one didn't turn out so good because my stamp isn't real good. It's supposed to be a fall colors with some leaf stamps, but the stamp that I used is just not really, it's hard for me to get the image stamped on. And so this is kind of like a failure, but I like the colors anyway. For this, I used a dollar stamp that I got at Michael's. You can use any stamp. This one turned out pretty well because I was able to take the glass piece before I put it in the frame and lay it on top here and then stamp it. And you see this is a much bigger stamp than the glass, but I put it on there diagonally and it turned out like a, a pretty nice image. And then this is the stamp I used for my eyes pendant. Just put that right on there, and that worked pretty well because it was smaller than the glass slide, so it fit pretty well. And then I decided to use the retro stamp for this one. Okay, see that? And again, what I did was I laid it on top and found the part where of the stamp that I wanted to get on the slide, and then I just pressed it down. Now I'm using StazOn ink, but at the same time this blending solution will dissolve it. So what I've done is I've stamped my image, and then I have used my finger and glossy accent to seal off that image. So let's go ahead and make one. Oh, and I'm also using my melting pot, and I've got some foil in there so that I don't make a mess, and so it's easier to lift it off. And I'm using Melt Art Ultra Thick Embossing Enamel, which is UT, and I've got a little scoop. Okay, so let's make another one of these. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is ink up my stamp with the StazOn. You don't have to worry about covering it all because you're not going to use it all, but make sure you stamp it in the areas where you want your image to come up. So let's go right here with it this time, just a little bit different. Okay, and I'm pressing down, making sure I get a good image, and then lift straight up. Okay, there's my image. I'll turn it over, and I'm going to hit it with my heat tool just to dry that ink. I'll let it cool off a moment. Still a little warm. And I'm going to put the glossy accents right on my finger. I've found that if I put it here, then I end up with too much. Let me poke a little hole in here again. I love glossy accent, but I just hate that I have to poke it every time I want to use it. Okay, so let's put it on this finger, just a little bit amount, and then I'm going to pick it up. Sorry, I got burnt by my pot, and just spread it on top, over top of the ink. Make sure that you get it over top of the ink, because that's what you're trying to seal. Okay. You don't have to worry about the other side. And I'm going to hit it again, and I'm going to keep this heat tool moving because I don't want to bubble the glossy accents by getting it too hot. It's a rather thin coat that you spread on there with your finger, so it doesn't take very long. Yeah. Okay, and that's dry. And I also want to cool it off a little bit. Okay. And now the frame is just a silver metal, and it also has a little place right there where you can open it up and slide your slide in. But I'm going to go ahead, while I'm waiting on this to cool, I'm going to go ahead and use my alcohol ink palette. And I'm going to take my water brush, dip it in this blending solution, and use it. Make sure that you're getting this, and use it here on where my gold is. Put it on my brush, and then I'm going to color my frame with the gold. Now this, this is alcohol ink, and it will stay on. This is a non-porous surface. Now if you want to, you can also do this straight from the bottle of mixative, but since I don't have my bottle out, then I'm just going to use what's in my dried up puddle. And then you would want to go ahead and do the edges. Okay, now that's going to take a couple of coats, but then again you might just like it like it is. Okay, so I'm going to take my brush and pull that metal out of it by dipping it in blending solution, and then clean it off. And I've got a clean brush again. Okay, so let's set that over to the side and come back here because this one is cool. Alright, I'm going to turn it over again, not on the glossy accent side, but on the side that we haven't done anything with it yet. And let's see, I used wild plum and sunset orange and butterscotch and gold on that one. Let's maybe go a little different direction this time. I'm going to go with let's see, I think this is Stonewash Blue or Cloudy Blue, trying to remember which. So let's just kind of pile that on there. Now when I made these, I didn't really fill them up a lot because it was just kind of an experiment yesterday. I just got this palette. So I think that I would want to fill these up more, and you can. There's a little ridge on there, and you can put as much as you want to in it. Alright, I'll clean my brush out again. And let's see, we got blue. Let's go with let's go with maybe some terracotta, which would be right here. It's a nice orange. Blue and orange are complementary colors, and so they go well together. Okay, kind of pounce it in the areas that weren't covered before, and I'm going to clean that out of my brush. Okay, now we need another color to pop it up. So let's see. See if I can find something bright. Well, let's try the sunshine yellow and see how that shows up. Okay, wet my brush, and that's right here. And let's put some of that sunshine on there. That's looking good because it's also combining with the blue and getting a little green. Always got to get some color theory in here. Okay, I think I like that. I might want to put a little more blue on there. It kind of got drowned out a little bit by the terracotta and the yellow. So let me put a little more blue out here. Or let's go with a darker blue. This is denim. There we go. Now we've established that blue back in there very well. Okay, I'm going to clean my brush in this blending solution. Alright, so and then we have our brush is fine and ready for anything else. Okay, wipe this off a little. Okay, so now we want this to dry on this side, and I'm going to pop it with my heating gun again. Now also, what I could do, and I think I'll go ahead and do this, but just a little bit, is you can spray it with the blending solution and mini mister and cause some motion. Here we go. Okay. And now I have to heat it again. Okay, I'm going to let that cool off a moment. And we're going to cover this side again with the glossy accents. While I'm waiting for that to cool, I can come back here and go into the gold again. Put some more of that on the edges. And now is the time to go ahead and get the outer edges. Saw me jump again. I put my arm up against the melting pot again. It's very, very close to me here, and I need to move it back a little bit because I keep touching it and jumping. Okay, and this last edge. I like using this palette because it's got almost every color. It's got every color that I own in it except for the pearl and silver mixatives, because I put snow cap and copper and gold in, and then I ran out of holes. And there are maybe 6 other colors of alcohol inks that I don't have, so you know, if I want to have them in there, I would need to go get another palette. And that would be okay, because then I could also put re-inkers in the other palette. Okay, we've got that covered except for the back. Let me get that. But I like it because instead of having 15 or 20 bottles of alcohol ink sitting out in my workspace, I've got this little palette and I have access to every one of the colors. Okay, almost finished with this part. What I'm doing is I'm dipping my brush into the blending solution and then picking up more of the dried alcohol ink, because the blending solution wets it so that I can pull it up off the palette. Okay, so I've got all of that. Alright, so let's put that aside. And we're going to pick this back up, but first I'm going to clean my brush. Now I've got to put some more blending solution in it. But it's interesting, my blending solution now has got a lot of this gold mixative in it, and it would make a really nice background on some glossy cardstock or a ceramic tile. So I'm not going to throw that away. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pour it over top of a porcelain surface and make a background for another project. Okay, so let's come back here, and again I'm going to put glossy accents on my finger. And rub it on this side so we can seal the alcohol inks in so that it doesn't run. And you want to do this quickly and not use a heavy hand on it, because you don't want it to run. Even though we dried it, you know, we don't want to press so hard that we lift up what we've already put on it. Okay, and then we need that to dry. Okay, I'm going to let that cool, and I'm going to pull this out of the way now. We're finished with that. put my melting pot over here and make sure that you can see it in the camera. Yeah, that's good. Okay. And now I'm going to go ahead and put it in my frame. So I'm going to open it and place it in. Go ahead and move that out of the way just for a moment. Now I did some tests. Now if you notice that it's shaky in there and that we want to seal it. So I did a few tests, and the way I figured it worked best, I tried it with glossy accents and got a little cloudy, and it's not really cost effective. So what I'm doing is I'm putting it in the melting pot. I'm just placing it in there, and I'm using a little spatula to kind of direct it and move things around. And then I'm taking the UT and a scoop, and I'm pouring it right on the inside of the frame. Pretty generous amount because we do want to fill up that frame. Okay. And you know, if you're going to do any spreading, then you better do it quickly and with a light touch, because it doesn't take long for this to start melting. Okay. So we're just going to leave that in there, and the heat will get to it, and we'll melt the UTE down. It doesn't take long, but I would say it takes 2 or 3 minutes maybe. Something like that. And what I'll likely do is I'm going to leave the camera on here while it melts down, but when I upload the video I will likely cut out most of the time just sitting there waiting. Now these memory glass packets and glass also come in 1 by 1, and they also come in a 1 by 2, or maybe it's a 2 by 2. It's a square. It comes in a square and then a shorter rectangle. Now we see it's starting to melt here. So you can have different shapes. If this is too long of an object for your taste in a pendant, then you might want to use the square or the smaller rectangle. And then you can also use them as charms on mini albums and journals, and there's a lot of different uses you could have besides jewelry. I guess it could be a bookmark of sorts. You could put some ribbon on it and use it as a bookmark. Okay, we see that this is really melting down. And it's only been a couple of minutes, so I'll go ahead and leave the camera running so that you can see how this looks at each, as it melts. But if you don't want to see all this, feel free to fast forward through this part of the video. You want to make sure that all of the crystal look is gone. So I usually leave it in there for maybe 30 more seconds after it's already seems to have melted, because I want to make sure that it's all gotten liquefied. When I didn't use the glossy accents on it, that's why this one failed, because I didn't put the glossy accents on it before melting it in the UTE, and that's why my colors ran, and that part of it was okay for the background colors to run, but it also made my stamp run, and then I wasn't able to restore the stamp part of it successfully. Okay, we see that all of the clear has gone, and like I said, I try to leave it in there maybe 20-30 more seconds after it is all melted. I don't have the large tweezers to work with this. I'd love to have, but I don't have them, and maybe my melting pot didn't come with them, so I'm just using my palette knife as a makeshift tweezer, and then I'm just kind of tapping it so that any of the extra UT that's on there will kind of tap off the bottom. Less waste and less mess on your craft sheet. Now, the back of it, you can go ahead. I think on one of them I went ahead, and after this was cooled off, I turned it over and also covered the back in UTE. But it's not a requirement, because this does seal it into the frame well enough. Or you can put another coat on it. In fact, this one might need another coat because I still see some room down there between the frame. But one coat of this UT will hold your glass into the frame without it shaking around anymore. So leave that up to you and your own preferences about how many coats you want to put on it. Then I'm just going to lay it on my craft sheet and let it cool. And I see that I've got kind of a drip there, so I'll probably sand that off later when it dries. But there we have it, and it's transparent. You can see through it, and I think they're pretty. So I hope you like this, and I hope you try some for yourself. Bye.